Good morning, lovely people. How are you all today? I hope you're all grand. So here we are at the beginning of August. I love it. Now listen, I know that I say I love it at the start of every month, and it's true. I love all the months and all the seasons for different reasons. Oh, my glasses are steaming up on my quick march here. I completely love all times of year for different reasons. But the beginning of August is really, really special. I almost can't articulate it. Essentially, it's the apogee of the gardening year. It's the time of year when the plants are at their most lush, with their most abundant growth. There is not an inch of space in the allotment at the moment. It's ridiculous. It's fabulous. I mean, I keep my garden going all year, but this is the point at which it's really, really bursting. It's so rudely in good health. It's almost Chaucerian, if that's a word. So I'm going to take you guys out there. Oh, first of all, what's all that? Yes, I managed to get the white onions in the other day before the rain. My goodness, our weather. I'm just going to pop up a second. So speaking of weather, we're going to go out there in a second, but it's still a bit blowy and a bit gusty, and I really hope this is going to work, because what's the date now? 4th or 5th of August? I've tried to film the plot at the beginning of August for the last 4 mornings. So we had a really, really dry spring. March, April, May, so dry. We had a few showers at the end of May, but not really much to write home about. And then June and the first week of July was so hot. But since about the 10th of July, so for about the last 3 weeks, it's been nothing but rain, lashing rain. So I know there's a little bit of damage on the plot, which I will show you as we go around. But also for the last couple of days, this wind, and yesterday it really, really picked up. So there's a bit of damage. Never mind, we'll have a look. But the main thing is, stepping out into a bright light, bright light. The main thing is that this morning there may be some gusts. I hope it's not going to spoil things too much, but at this rate I wouldn't be showing you the garden in August at all, so we'll plough on and hope for the best. And like I said, oh, here comes a gust now. It's supposed to be calmer today. So I'm down here quite early in the morning when it's nice and quiet. The sun is so bright, it's beautiful, so at least we've got a bit of brightness, and hopefully I can do a bit of work in the garden today, because it's been so difficult to find the time, and when I have found the time, it chucks down with rain. So here we are at the top of the garden as normal for our little tours. Wow, that wind is really gusting. Oh, look at the flowers, they're loving it. So the beautiful lily has now gone over, so I get about 2.5, 3 weeks of blooms from it, and then it's over. You wait all year. It's well worth it though. Hello, shadow. This year has been beautiful. The verbena. This was started as a seed last year, and it was a spare one that Sean had that he gave me. And when it was sort of over by sort of the end of October, I left it in its sort of brown and dying state, because I just thought it was such a beautiful plant still. Then cut it back, I think it was about December, left it alone, and it's come back this year even bigger. Isn't it gorgeous? And the bees love it. Now the calendula have been doing absolute great guns for me. In fact, I'm having to deadhead as much as harvest, because they're just chucking out flowers all the time, and as fast as I'm harvesting one lot, another lot's going over. So I will keep deadheading for the next 2 or 3 weeks, because I don't want seed yet. I want it to keep flowering. And then, as I say, by about the end of August, I will stop harvesting, stop deadheading, and let it produce seed. And then next to it, look, I love the colour of the parsnip foliage. It's this sort of bright acid green, gorgeous. So now that the calendula are obviously, they're past their best, they're still giving me, but you can now start to see where there are 3 rows of parsnips, and they all look really healthy and well. Woo! Then the gorgeous chickpeas. Oops, there's too many cosmos everywhere to show you the chickpeas. There's masses and masses of pods in there, and there are actually still a few little flowers coming, so hopefully that'll be even more pods. As a plant, I absolutely love it, just to grow for its foliage, how it looks. I'm really glad I tried it last year. I'm delighted to be doing it again this year, and as I've said many times before, it's really, really naughty when it comes to harvesting and podding. It's very time consuming, but so worth it. I have my last, I think, 2 or 3 portions of chickpeas from last year, so it does me well. These cosmos, they're just, isn't that a happy sight? Oh, love them. Now, over here, if you remember, I had my quinoa, and as I mentioned a few weeks ago, I made the decision that whilst it's fun to experiment, perhaps this year of living off the plot wasn't the year to do it. So I harvested loads of the leaves as I was going along and having them in my smoothies. And then a couple of weeks ago I took the plants out, but harvested a load more leaves, which I've frozen. I wasn't really sure how to freeze them. I thought if I blanch them, they'll wilt to nothing. So all I've done, I'll try and describe it, is imagine a piece of cloth, then I got a sort of wedge of leaves on top of the cloth, fold it over, another wedge, fold the cloth back over, another wedge, fold. Did that ad infinitum, so that hopefully I can pull it out of the freezer as a portion. And now here in its place are 10 broccoli, calabres. And this is such a great plant for me to grow because obviously I have the big head to harvest. I leave the plant in and then it sort of throws up little sprouts from the side, and I'll harvest them. And then when they're done, I get to eat the leaves too. So it's a really good veg in my small space. It will keep coming and coming. And then next door, where the new potatoes and calendula were, I've got another 3 rows. So in total, I think I've got 40 calabres in here, which should really do me well over the winter and into spring. Oh, here comes another gust. This is the main crop spuds. They're fine. They look like they're just starting to die back a bit now. Being mindful that this is typical blight weather, if I get any sign of blight, I will literally chop off the tops. I'll leave the spuds in the ground for a further couple of weeks just to help cure their skins, and then I'll have the lot out. Otherwise, I will let nature do it for me. I'll let all this foliage die back and then just harvest as and when I need for a few weeks, and then probably have the lot out towards the end of October. Letting the plant die back, that's going to help with curing the skins. Oh, this is going to be one of my favourite beds this year. The celery has gone great guns for me. So considering how dry we were for ages, they've done brilliantly. I think that's partly because I really heavily mulched it with the grass clippings. And just try and get up close and personal, I basically use it as a cut and come again. So I just sort of grab a few stalks from the outside of each plant, and it keeps growing. In fact, I can't keep up with it. I'm going to try to overwinter it this year with some fleece. Woohoo, looking forward to it. And then these beauties, my celeriac. I'm delighted with them. So I've just started to remove the outer leaves, which I'll now do every couple of weeks or so as they're growing. but they're really fattening up. And like I said with the quinoa, it wasn't necessarily the year to experiment. Oh, here comes more wind. But I'm really glad I did with these. They don't take up too much space, and that's a really, really hearty veg for me over the winter. I'm always thinking about winter. And talking of experiments, this has got to be one of my absolute favourites on the plot this year. Look on this. Oh, look. There's the wind. Just take a moment to have a look. The flint corn. This stuff is now, it's over 6 foot. I'm getting tassels on the top. As yet, no sign of any cobs. I don't know if that's normal. Do you know what though? It's such a magnificent plant. I almost don't care if I don't get cobs. I mean, of course I do. But actually, I think there's something about the height of it. You know, in our gardens, in our veg gardens, there's not always a great deal of height. So I love the impact this has every time I come on site and see it. Especially in a mild breeze, not necessarily a gale storm. But yeah, absolutely loving that. You know, I was thinking just in terms of how the plants look, that the flint corn, the chickpeas and the fennel, I would almost grow them just for the sake of how they look, because they're so beautiful. So in front are the edamame. They are just forming their pods. They're not very big yet, so they've got a ways to go. Looking forward to getting my choppers around those. Edamame, if you remember, is one of the beans which you must boil before you eat. They do contain toxins which will give you a proper little tummy ache, and worse if you don't cook them first. In front, oh look, it's almost the first glimpse of autumn with yellowing leaves. This is the Roquencourt. The beans that were left, let me just show you. I've been harvesting, but now any of the beans that were left I'll leave on the plant, let them dry on the plant, and that will be next year's seed supply for me. And I may try and cook a few of them. Yum, 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 yum. The onions, well, the red are still in. Oh, they've been brilliant again this year. I'm going to try and come around this side and show you. I mean, really lovely, good-sized onions this year. Fantastic. I think it was all that heat throughout sort of June and July. Now, I had planned to lift these the other day. I was in such a hurry to get them up. I did manage to get the whites up. There's the space. But then the rain came. So for now, they're going to stay. I'm going to hope that they're going to be okay for another week or so, couple of weeks. Hopefully we'll have some sunshine and dry weather, and then they can be lifted. The carrots are going great guns. I've been having loads out already, and all my second sowings came up. The soil in this bed, if you remember, was all the soil from underneath the shed build last year, which in, I think it was about January or February, I riddled and sifted the whole lot and built up this bed. And I think it's worked great for the carrots because they're all coming out lovely and straight. My first year of straight carrots. I never get straight carrots. But they're looking really good. There's a few in the middle which are a bit smashed because of the foxes. And then look at this lot. Oh, I love the squash bed. One of my absolute favourite things at this time, the squash bed. One of my favourite things to do is to go rummaging in the foliage to see, oh, what's growing. Look, a butternut there, and a butternut there. And then just down here the other day I spotted, oh, can I get past? Really, there's no space for even me on the plot at the moment. Where was it? Let's get you guys in here. There is one of the Violina. And this is the one that it develops a really gnarly, knobbly skin, almost like that of a pachyderm. So if you imagine an elephant's backside, that's what I'll be chowing down on. Oh, gosh, it's bright this morning. So there's masses and masses going on with the squash. I'm just coming over here. The cucumbers have been absolutely amazing. In fact, is that going to pick up? There's another one to pick. I can see that I've missed one here in the back. Look at the size of that. Let me just see if I can show you. Oops, so much foliage. I can't even get my whole hand in shot. It's about 10-12 inches long. They've been absolutely brilliant and abundant, and I've been getting the equivalent of 2 or 3, I'm tiptoeing, 2 or 3 a day. And then look at this happy sight. My peppers, my outdoor peppers are doing great guns. Each plant has got at least at least 2 fruits on them. Now I could start to eat them green. The green just means they're not quite ripe. You can have them green. They've got a much more bitter taste. So if I get desperate, I'll nick one green. But it's actually better to leave them to ripen. These should go orange, and I've just spotted, look, another cucumber. Oh, that one's splitting. Oh, and there's one next to it. My goodness, every time I think I've had all the cucumbers, another one appears as if by magic. Tiptoeing, oopla. So I am delighted with how the cukes have gone. Can we see any from this side? Oh my goodness, I can see another couple of whoppers in there. Right, I'm going to harvest today, I think. Now, my precious, precious tomatoes. So, they're finally starting to ripen. I've been picking a few in the last few days, which is great. But I'm obviously very, very concerned now about blight. And every day I'm coming along, I'm looking at the stems, I'm looking at the foliage. If there's any signs, I will try to nip out straight away. Because one of the problems, actually let's just come back in here after the sun a bit. One of the problems with all the rain is that I can't spray the foliage with my aspirin spray because it would just be washed off straight away. So in the meantime, they're looking really healthy, and there is masses and masses of fruit on them. Really good amount of fruit. So what we ideally want now is a few days of really, really good sunshine to ripen this lot before the inevitable happens, which is blight. More gusty wind. Actually, I just want to show you this lot from here. This flint corn. Look at it in there. I love it. I keep finding the cats hiding out in here. It's so cute, and it just brings out the child in me, because who wouldn't want to build a den in this lot? Look at it. If you built a den in here, no one would be able to find you. Maybe I should build a ring of flint corn around my whole garden next year, and then no one will know I'm here. Peace and quiet. I'm kidding. I like people knowing I'm here. Okay, so that's tomatoes. So this is a big, big fingers crossed time. And I know that from groups and comments I've seen, I know that people all around the place are having to destroy their whole crop, which is just heartbreaking. I really, really feel for you guys who've had to get rid of your crops. It is, like I said, it's heartbreaking. So I'm doing a lot of finger crossing and hoping for sunshine, and then I can spray again. Now these are delighting me. They're finally hearting up. In fact, this one, you can see my finger marks from the other day. I was tapping it. That is a chunky, solid heart. So I shall start harvesting these. Actually, this big one I'm going to give to our Graham, because he loves a bit of red cabbage pickled for his Christmas lunch. So I'll give that one to him now, and then he can start getting ready to pickle for the winter. And the others I will probably have some fresh in salads. I might have some cooked in a pie. But yeah, finally they're doing what they're supposed to do. Woohoo! And then my little field of Roquencourt. Well, actually, it's a field of Roquencourt with a couple of interlopers in the form of, where does this go? Where does it go? Ah, it's the Rouge Vif de Tombe. You see it under there? Oh, isn't that a gorgeous colour? What I love about squash is they kind of hint at autumn in the middle of summer. So they're sort of saying, look at my gorgeous colour. This is how the whole garden is going to look in another 6 weeks. Love it! Now the Roquencourt, let me see if let me see, right, here's a pod. So, you see it's quite narrow. The beans are only just starting to form in there and it's quite green. This will gradually fade and it will go to a more sort of creamy colour, and you will see it will get really, really quite swollen. Oh, I wonder if that one's further along. No, it will get really, really quite swollen with the beans. They are quite fat little beans. At that stage, that's when you want to pick them and get them frozen. They're what's known in France as demi-sec, which is half dry bean. If the pod starts to develop sort of little purpley pink streaks, that means, well, you're a bit too late. You can still do it, but they will just be a little bit tougher. They'll be slightly more dry than ideal. So as the time comes through the autumn, I reckon they're about anywhere between 4 and 6 weeks away. I'll try and show you so that any of you guys who are growing them can time it just right too. But there's such, let me get my shadow out of the way, there's such abundance in there as well. That's what I mean about August. It's before the turn to autumn, before everything starts to fade, and everything is just so rudely healthy and lush. And here we are on the fennel bed. They're doing great. Oh my goodness, I had my first one out a couple of nights ago and had my favourite fennel risotto, which was beyond gorgeous. It was absolutely, I'm going to slurp now even thinking about it. So there's masses there for me. I'm chuffed to bits because it was, half of this bed was a second sowing. The second sowing got stood on, but they've still come up. So now we're entering the problem zone. Sorry, I'm shooting you into the light. Let's come around the other side. The beans. The beans have been utterly magnificent this year. I am delighted beyond measure. I've got masses and masses and masses. Now, I do pick a few green when they're little to have fresh, but for the most part, this whole bed is for drying. I no longer have paths. The sunflowers are taking over, the squash are taking over. There's masses. It's hard to really show you just how much, but I know that they weigh a ton. I know that there's masses in there because, let's see if we can just negotiate this little path with all the sunnies. Now, this row, I don't know if you'll be able to pick up, I might have to step right back, is on the slant. So I've got 3 double rows. This row with the Gigantes and the Borlottis. Oh, actually, look. Let me just show you. They're just starting to get their colour. Oh, I love it. In another couple of weeks, these will be really bright and brash. Oh, love it. So I've got 3 double rows. And this double row is all new canes. And then my next 2 rows, and now you're really going to see it, were actually really quite old canes. And they have snapped in the wind, snapped under the weight. I'm actually going to come right the way over here to show you. In the wind, can you see? Can you pick that up? They've gone right over. I did try a couple of days ago to stake them a bit, but the ground was rock hard. I couldn't get any more poles in. So I'm not really sure what to do. I think at the moment, look at the angle of that stick, it's just snapped completely. So for now, I'm actually not going to try to do anything. I did try the other day, but it was just too heavy. I could barely lift it. And there's masses and masses and masses of beans everywhere, beans. So I'm going to leave it and hope for the best. Ideally, I want to dry them on the vine. That may not happen. We'll see. And then just in the front here, in this tunnel, there are masses and masses and masses and masses more brassicas to go out. And they will go, oh, we're going to go right into the sun now. They are going to go just up there where the white onions came out, and then where the red onions come out, they'll go in there as well. I'm not going to starve this winter, am I? Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. Like I say, it's just this rude lushness of everything going rampant. Now the only things that aren't going rampantly yet are these, my climbing baby butternuts. So they're only just, let's get in there so you can see it, they're only just forming flowers now. So what I'm wondering if I've just done everything a bit too late, and that maybe next year what I need to do is get them sown and get them out much sooner. My worry with them at the moment is that by the time the fruit forms, we're going to lose our warmth and sunshine and they won't ripen. So I'm still hopeful. Never give up. Look at it. Oh, reach for the sky. I remain optimistic, but it's all about learning as we go, isn't it? So if it doesn't quite work this year, it'll give me some clues as to what to do for next year. Now, one thing that is working is this wee fella. This is one of the Geekosama. It's one of those really old varieties. There's a beautiful romantic story behind it. Whether you believe it or not is neither here nor there. It's fun to try. So that one's going great guns. It is actually producing another little fruit further down the vine. So I'm wondering now about snipping the end of the vine so it just produces two. The companion over there, well, I've only had male flower. Oh, I've just seen a female flower. I was just about to say I've only seen male flowers yet, but I've just seen the first female. So I may have another one over there. Oh my giddy goodness. It just, look at it. Isn't it just the wonderfulest thing? That's not even a word, wonderfulest. I couldn't be happier. I mean, truly, I'm just going to head back to the shed because it's now getting really windy. The garden this year, it's the best it's ever been. Now, I'm sure that's a culmination of, I've learned as I've gone along. Hopefully I've got a bit better at some things. The planning, the note-taking, all that nerdy stuff that I do is hopefully what's helping now, and it's paying off. Undoubtedly, the warmth we've had from really quite early on this year has helped. Now with all this rain, it's made everything go. But I feel blessed. Every time I'm in the garden, I feel blessed. I feel blessed to have a little space to grow in. I feel blessed that things seem to work out okay for me. And to know that over the winter I'm not going to starve. Yay! The simple pleasures. So, on this gorgeous, gorgeous day, morning, it's so bright and early still. I'm just going to show you all my neighbours' gorgeous sunnies. So on this very happy, optimistic note, I will say cheerio, happy gardening, happy harvesting, happy repairing storm damage if you've had it too, and we'll all keep our fingers crossed for our tomatoes and for not having blight. And in the meantime, I will see you again soon, I hope. Cheerio.